Power up fall projects with Ego at Lowe's. Every tool delivers power beyond belief. So whether it's leaves, limbs, or lawn cleanup, count on Ego to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. And now for a limited time, save up to $60 on select blowers, chainsaws, and pole saws. Shop Ego today at Lowe's. Offers valid through 10/1 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Weight loss solutions are not one-size-fits-all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full up front. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
In September 2000, a 6-year-old vanished from his apartment while his mother took a late-night swim. She claimed to be gone only briefly, but conflicting accounts suggest she may have been away for hours. With no signs of forced entry, no evidence of foul play, and the boy's belongings untouched, investigators were left grasping at clues. Despite an exhaustive search including multiple agencies, bloodhounds, helicopters, and cadaver dogs, not a single trace of the child was found. Welcome to Without a Trace. I'm your host, Jalen. Every file holds a mystery. Every story deserves to be heard. This is Zach's story. Zachary Bernhardt was born on December 18, 1991. He lived with his mother, Leah Hackett, in an apartment complex in Clearwater, Florida. Zach was a sweet and cheerful boy whose positive outlook on life was evident to everyone who met him. He attended the 3rd grade at Eisenhower Elementary School. Zach's home life was filled with drama and turmoil. He had no relationship with his father, and he and his mother were constantly moving from one apartment complex to another. At the time of his disappearance, they had been facing eviction. On Sunday, September 10, 2000, Leah found herself unable to fall asleep after she put Zach to bed. She wasn't a morning person and liked to stay up late as she was used to working at night. Around 3 a.m., feeling restless, she decided to go outside and smoke a cigarette. She glanced into Zach's room on the way out to make sure he was sleeping soundly. It was a hot night in Florida, so she made a spur-of-the-moment decision to jump into the pool located in the center of the apartment complex, despite the fact that she wasn't wearing a swimsuit. She swam a few quick laps around the pool before getting out and walking the short distance back to her apartment. She changed into some dry clothes, then checked on Zach again. She was horrified to find that he wasn't in his bed. At first, Leah thought Zach might have rolled out of bed. She frantically searched through his room, then raced through the rest of the apartment, calling out his name. But Zach wasn't there. Panicked, she called 911. At some point while Leah was gone, her son had disappeared. Reports differ as to how long Leah was gone. Some say Leah returned within 15 minutes, while others claim she was gone for as long as 2 hours. Leah admitted to police she had left her apartment unlocked when she left to go on her walk. She knew she wasn't going to be gone long and thought it was okay to leave the door unlocked as she wasn't leaving the apartment complex. She insisted that Zach wouldn't have left the apartment on his own. He knew that he always had to ask his mom for permission before going anywhere, and he had no history of wandering away from home. Police responded quickly and completed a door-to-door search of the apartment complex where Zach and his mother lived. Officers from 6 different agencies, including the FBI, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the Tampa Police Department, assisted in the search for the missing boy. In addition to the ground search, divers and a helicopter crew were also dispatched to the area. They checked empty apartments, combed through dumpsters, and searched several neighboring apartment complexes. Despite their efforts, they were unable to find any clues to Zach's whereabouts. Around 4 p.m. on Monday, Deputy James Kane from the Manatee County Sheriff's Department arrived at the complex with his bloodhound, Lonzo. After Lonzo was given several of Zach's items to sniff, he followed a scent trail toward a different apartment complex, but lost it almost immediately. Lonzo spent the next hour trying to pick up Zach's scent, but was unsuccessful. Detectives interviewed Zach's teachers, classmates, and neighbors, but none of them were able to offer any insight into his disappearance. Susan Dalton, who lived in the apartment complex, said that all of the children in the complex knew and liked Zach, and he would often play outside with them. She told detectives Leah was a good mother, noting, "She takes real good care of Zach. He was always polite and friendly. He always speaks to you when he passes and smiles." Jean Eubanks, the principal of Zach's elementary school, told investigators that Leah was very involved in Zach's activities and volunteered to help out at school events. It was evident to the school that Zach was Leah's entire world, and there was no indication of anything wrong. While most of Leah's neighbors said she was a dedicated mother who loved her son, a few claimed that the single mother liked to go out to bars and would leave Zach home alone while she did so. At least one neighbor told police that Leah had left Zach alone for hours on the night he went missing. They claimed to have seen Leah's car pulling into the parking lot sometime after 3 a.m., insinuating that Leah had been at a bar when Zach disappeared. Leah disputed this, however, and insisted that she had been home all night. Clearwater Police Sergeant Wayne Andrews told reporters that investigators hadn't found any evidence of foul play, but acknowledged that Zach's young age made finding him quickly a top priority. Zach had only been wearing a t-shirt and boxer shorts when he vanished, and he was most likely barefoot. He didn't own a bicycle, so if he had left the apartment alone, he would have had to walk. Although he had no history of sleepwalking, investigators were open to every possibility. Everyone hoped he was still close by and would be quickly found. While officers and volunteers scoured the area for any sign of Zach, detectives compiled a list of registered sex offenders who lived in or around the apartment complex. Each one was interviewed to see where they had been around the time Zach went missing, but nothing was found to suggest one of them had been involved in his disappearance. Late Wednesday afternoon, the apartment complex and surrounding area were searched with cadaver dogs, but nothing was found. Detectives also combed through the apartment, taking fingerprints and looking for any clues that may indicate what happened to Zach. Clearwater Police spokesman Wayne Scheller admitted that investigators were mystified by the little boy's disappearance, noting that they found nothing to indicate a crime had occurred, but they didn't believe he had run away from home or wandered off on his own. There were no signs of a struggle inside the apartment, and all of Zach's belongings were undisturbed. Police and volunteer firefighters gathered at the Eddie Moore baseball field in Clearwater on Thursday morning. From there, they broke off into smaller groups and searched through more than 500 acres of mangroves, underbrush, and woods. A few groups used boats to search along the shoreline of Old Tampa Bay, scanning in vain for any sign of the missing boy. The search for Zach was scaled back on Friday. More than 1,000 acres surrounding the apartment complex had been thoroughly searched, but the whereabouts of the little blonde boy remained a mystery. Detectives spent the day reviewing the hundreds of tips they had received and continued interviewing everyone associated with Zach. A week after Zach went missing, investigators were no closer to determining what happened to him. Police spokesman Wayne Scheller said that Leah was not the focus of their investigation, but they had impounded her car, so it could be processed for potential evidence. He noted that this was routine and it didn't mean she was a suspect. Investigators had spoken to Leah several times and found nothing to disprove what she was saying. For the most part, Leah tried to stay out of the public eye. Aside from one public statement, she refrained from commenting about the case. She spent most of her time in the apartment with her mother and sisters, praying that someone would call with the news that Zach had been found. On September 27, 2000, police spokesperson Wayne Scheller told reporters that detectives were taking a closer look at Leah, though he refrained from calling the 29-year-old a suspect in her son's disappearance. From the beginning, the officers had a number of concerns about the circumstances of his disappearance. Investigators don't believe they have the whole story from Zach's mother. Zach wasn't Leah's only child. She also had a 6-year-old daughter. While Leah initially had full custody of the little girl, she was later sent to live with her father in Michigan after he alleged that Leah went out drinking too much. A judge granted him full custody of the child. Leah and Zach lived in several different apartments before moving to the Savannah Trace complex the previous year. Leah had been evicted from several different apartments for failure to pay rent. 5 days before Zach went missing, she received yet another eviction notice because she was once again behind in her rent payments. 3 weeks after her son disappeared, Leah quietly moved out of the Savannah Trace apartments. She was believed to be staying with one of her relatives. By the middle of October, leads in Zach's disappearance had started to dry up, and most of the detectives who were initially assigned to the case were no longer working on it. By the end of the year, Zach's case had completely faded from the headlines. As the first anniversary of his disappearance approached, his family hoped to garner enough publicity to jumpstart the investigation. Detectives announced that Zach's picture was going to be featured on a billboard, as well as a flyer sent to more than 800,000 homes in Florida in September of 2001. On December 31, 2001, a 5-year-old boy was playing outside of his apartment in the Savannah Trace complex when he was abducted by a man in a white pickup truck. Witnesses quickly called police, but the man and child had disappeared. Hours later, the boy was found 65 miles away from Clearwater. His abductor had tossed him into the dumpster behind a fast food restaurant in Sumter County. The boy had managed to get out of the dumpster and was found by a passerby who quickly alerted authorities. The 5-year-old, though in good health, was believed to have been sexually assaulted by his kidnapper. Detectives weren't sure if his abduction could be related to Zach's. Although they both disappeared from the same apartment complex, the person responsible for kidnapping the 5-year-old was never apprehended, so it couldn't be questioned about Zach's case. In January 2002, another young boy was abducted from the apartment complex Zach vanished from. The 5-year-old boy was later found alive in a bin in Bushnell, Florida. He had been lured into a vehicle with the promise of ice cream, and his abductor had driven him around for approximately 10 hours before leaving him in the bin. Authorities investigated the possibility that this case was connected to Zach's disappearance, but found no evidence to support this theory. A man named Kevin Jalbert, who lived near Zach at the time of his disappearance, was also investigated by police after he told an acquaintance he was a child murderer in 2001. He attempted to solicit an undercover police officer for child rape, abduction, and murder in September of the same year, and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Child sexual abuse material was also found in his possession. He claims to be a serial killer who murdered 5 children and sexually assaulted many more. However, his sister has said that he is a chronic liar and is prone to exaggerate the truth to get attention. Jalbert led authorities to the apartment building Zach was living in when he vanished and claimed he abducted a child there, although he did not lead them to Zach's specific apartment and did not describe his clothing correctly. He denied having any involvement in Zach's case, but failed a polygraph in relation to the case. While DNA evidence in Zach's case did not match Jalbert, he also has not been ruled out as a suspect. The truth about what happened to Zach that night remains a mystery. Leah hasn't publicly spoken about the case in recent years. Although detectives believe she wasn't being entirely truthful with them, they have never named her a suspect in her son's disappearance. According to neighbors, Leah was gone from the apartment for hours that night, not minutes. If true, this could explain her reluctance to open up to police. If she did leave the apartment complex for an extended period of time, Zach could have disappeared hours earlier than detectives were led to believe. Leah has since moved to Hawaii in the years since Zach vanished and has changed her surname to Hansen. Zach's father is not considered a suspect in his disappearance. Thank you for listening to Without a Trace. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Zach's disappearance. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and follow Without a Trace on social media, and join me next week as I dive into another case.